Hello everyone, welcome to another video, and today I'll be reading another book on the website Kids A to Z, and today our topic is about climate change. What do you think about climate change? Written by Alfred J. Smukiewicz. Introduction. What is climate change? What is the weather like today? Is it warm or cold, sunny or rainy? It's easy to see what the weather is like on any given day, but what about the climate? Over long periods, there are certain patterns to the weather. These long-term patterns are called climate, and sometimes these patterns change. For example, it was colder in Europe from 14,000s to 18,000s, that it was from 11,000s to 13,000s. That was because the pattern of weather, the climate, changed between these two periods. Many scientists believe that the climate is changing again, back to a warmer pattern. They call this change global warming. Although some people are concerned that global warming could harm plant and animal communities and human societies, other people believe that there is little to worry about. This book tells what scientists have discovered about climate change. Read it carefully and then ask yourself, what do I think about climate change? Evidence for climate change. When scientists have an idea, such as the idea that global warming is happening, they need to present evidence to support that idea. What evidence have scientists discovered about global warming? Meteorologists, scientists who study the weather, have kept careful records of Earth's surface temperatures since the mid-80,000s. Surface temperatures include the temperatures of the air near the ground, such as what you see on an outdoor thermometer. Surface temperatures also include temperatures of the ocean surface. These records show that the average surface temperatures around the world has increased by roughly 1.0 degree Fahrenheit to 1.8 degree Fahrenheit since the late 1800s. Scientists have also compared records of these recent temperatures increase with other evidence of what Earth's climate was like thousands of years ago. This comparison led a group of US scientists to report in 2006 that Earth's surface is probably warmer now than at any time in the past 12,000 years. Old photographs provide additional evidence that Earth's surface is warming. For example, photos of certain mountain glaciers taken in the early to mid-90s show that the glaciers were larger years ago than they are today. Scientists have found that some of these mountain glaciers are melting and shrinking at faster and faster rates. Researchers have observed such glaciers in Alaska, South America, Europe, and Asia. Many scientists believe that this shrinking is being caused by an increase in global surface temperatures. So as you can look at this, here's the melting glaciers helped cause the shattering of around 400-year-old Lazenby ice shelf in Antarctica. Evidence indicates that ice around the North and South Poles is also melting. Much of this evidence comes from photographs of the polar regions taken by cameras abroad satellites. Satellite photos have shown that the amount of sea ice in the Arctic Ocean around the North Pole has decreased since the 1970s. Measurements revealed that between 2004 and 2005, an area of sea ice the size of Texas disappeared from the Arctic. Because of the melting Arctic Ocean ice, the survival of polar bears may be at risk. Polar bears use ice floes, floating ice in winter as platforms to hunt seals. Scientists reported in 2005 that there are not as many ice floes in the Arctic Sea as there used to be. As a result, many polar bears are not getting enough food to eat, and some may be drowning. Near the South Pole, satellite photos show that both sea ice and ice sheets, ice covering land in western Antarctica, are melting. In 2002, photos showed an ice shelf larger in area than Rhode Island breaking into small pieces and drifting away from Antarctica. An ice shelf is part of an ice sheet that extends into the sea. When ice on land, such as on Antarctica and Greenland, melts, the meltwater flows into the ocean. Over time, this extra water could cause sea levels to rise. Researchers with the United Nations have reported average sea level around the world has risen at least 4 inches 10 centimeters since the early 1900s. Searching for more evidence for global warming exists than it described in this chapter. Other evidence pointed to by scientists includes changes in migration habits of certain birds, an unhealthy condition of coral reefs called bleaching, possible increase in extreme weather, such as hurricanes. You can find out more about this evidence by using the internet. However, you need to be careful about which websites you use. Many websites about global warming contain incorrect information. Websites run by government agencies, universities, or scientific organizations are usually the best. When you read about any evidence, remember to ask yourself, does this make sense to me? What is causing climate change? There are many ideas as to what may be causing global warming and climate change. These ideas can be divided into two main categories: human activities and natural causes. The main human activity blamed for global warming is the burning of fossil fuels like coal, oil, and natural gas in automobiles, factories, and electric power plants. When these substances are burned for fuel or energy, carbon dioxide gas and other gases are released into the atmosphere. Air. These gases build up in the atmosphere over time. The gases let much of the energy of sunlight pass through the air to warm Earth's surface. Earth's surface then radiates, sends out heat energy back into the air. Much of the radiated heat energy drifts off into space. However, some of the heat energy is trapped near Earth's surface by carbon dioxide and certain other gases in the atmosphere. The trapped heat energy then radiated back to the surface, warming the surface more. Because this process acts like greenhouse, a building in which special glass was trap heat to warm plants inside. It is called the greenhouse effect. Carbon dioxide, methane, and other gases that trap heat are called greenhouse gases. So here's how the greenhouse effect works. First, our Earth's surface will absorb the sunlight that gives off from our sun, and then the radiated heat, and then our atmosphere will trap the heat, and the heat will be given back, but some heat will be trapped, and it causes the greenhouse gases, and our atmosphere become hotter and hotter. Greenhouse gas sources. First is carbon dioxide or CO2, including in fossil fuels burning and cutting down forests, volcanoes. Methane is in burning forests, microbes in wetlands, and inside cattle intestines. Nitrous oxide is in fossil fuels burning forests, chemical reactions in soil and ocean. Halocarbons in oil spray cans, certain cleaning fluids, and other products. Aerosol particles, fossil fuels burning forests, volcanoes. Ozone, automobiles, power plants, and water vapor in evaporation in plants. The greenhouse effect is a natural part of how Earth functions. If Earth didn't have a natural greenhouse effect, it would be as cold as Mars, too cold for liquid water or life. However, many scientists believe that the carbon dioxide released into the air by the burning of fossil fuels is increasing the warming of the greenhouse effect. So, what is the evidence that carbon dioxide from fossil fuels is related to global warming? Humans began burning fossil fuels in large amounts when industrialization, the use of power-driven machinery became widespread in the mid-1800s. Since then, measurements suggest that the amount of carbon dioxide in the atmosphere has increased by about 25%. According to meteorologists, Earth's surface temperatures has increased during the same time. Another human activity that has increased the carbon dioxide in the air is the burning and cutting down of forests or deforestation. Trees and other plants remove carbon dioxide from the air to carry out photosynthesis. Photosynthesis is the process of trees when they absorb carbon dioxide and release back oxygen into the atmosphere for its own survival. The chemical process by which plants make their own food. When there are fewer plants to carry out photosynthesis, more carbon dioxide builds up in the atmosphere. So here's the statistics of the average yearly surface temperature. As you can see, the temperature is rising at an alarming rate, especially from the The peak is at 1940 and is increasing rapidly until 2000. Some scientists point out that global warming doesn't have to be caused by human activities. Global warming and global cooling happened over and over before. People started burning fossil fuels. During the past few hundreds of thousands of years, there have been several ice ages when much of Earth's surface was covered by ice. In between these ice ages have been warm periods. The last ice age ended about 11,500 years ago. According to geologists, we are now in a warm period between two ice ages. What else do weather records and other scientific evidence show? In Europe, the climate cooled between the medieval warm period, about 1180 1800s, and the Little Ice Age, about 1400s to 1800s. The climate has been warming since the end of the Little Ice Age. This early climate change has natural causes. Perhaps the current global warming has some natural causes too, like from natural events like volcanic eruptions that release ash into the atmosphere, also other causes of climate change. But 95% scientists believe that human activities is the major cause of climate change. If meteorol if meteorol I'm sorry, if meteorologists have been keeping careful records of Earth's temperature since only the mid 1800s, how can we know what early temperatures and climates were like? One way to know is by studying growth rings in cross sections of very old trees. Trees grow more when climate is wet and warm than when climate is dry and cold. Tree rings are thicker when there is greater growth. By analyzing such rings, scientists can discover trends in temperatures going back hundreds of years. To discover even older temperature trends, scientists use various other methods. One such method is to examine ice cores. Ice cores are long, cylinder-shaped samples of ice are drilled out of the ground in Antarctica and other frozen places. An ice core contains chemical evidence of what the atmosphere was like during different times, going back many thousands of years. The deeper the ice, the farther back in time it was formed. Certain chemicals, such as large amount of carbon dioxide, tell researchers that Earth's climate was relatively warm at the time the ice formed. Such methods allow scientists to learn about Earth's past natural changes in climate. Although scientists do not fully understand the natural causes of climate change, they suspect that a number of factors are involved. For example, the amount of heat energy produced by the sun varies from time to time, also varying over time at the shape of Earth's orbit around the sun and the angle of that tide that Earth makes on its axis, the imaginary line about which Earth spins. Well, let me see how many pages it has, because it says over 70 pages. I need to spend time for quizzes as well. So, okay, it's over 20 pages to be honest. That's a lot. So 22 in total. And now I'm in the middle of page 15 supposed? Yeah, 15. Possible results of climate change. Whether global warming is caused by human activities, natural factors, or a combination of both, it may result in certain changes to the planet. How do scientists predict these changes? What might these changes be? What would such changes mean to you? One of the main ways that scientists try to predict the future of climate change is by using computer models. These are computer programs based on mathematical equations about sunlight, heat, rainfall, wind, ocean currents, and other climate factors. Scientists change these equations in different ways to mimic the ways that these factors might change in the real world. The computer program then figures out the most likely effects that these factors would have on Earth's climate. Computer models are most useful for helping researchers learn several possible results of climate change. However, predictions made with computer models are not certain. Maybe these predictions will really happen. Maybe they will not happen. The following possibilities are based on computer models predicting very serious effects of global warming. Other computer models predict far less serious effects. According to some computer models, if current rates of warming continue, Earth's average temperatures may increase by as much as 10 degrees Fahrenheit or degrees Fahrenheit or 5.5 degrees Celsius by 2100. Such a great rise in temperatures could cause enormous changes in the natural habitats of many plant and animal species. Wetlands might change into grasslands, and grasslands might change into deserts. Plants and animals that could not adjust to these changes would die out. And I've just read some estimates that if climate change continue to accelerate, we will suffer from the sixth mass extinction. So that's is a really serious issue, and I think that every single person on this planet is responsible for protecting our planet, to deal with it, to taking actions like like save energy, or um, like do something that we can do to cool down our climate, right? Large increases in Earth's surface temperature could cause vast amounts of ice on Antarctica and Greenland to melt into the sea. This could, in turn, result in rises in sea level of several feet. If all the ice on Greenland were to melt, for example, sea levels might increase by more than 20 feet, according to some computer models. Computer help map the pollutants in the air above major urban areas. If sea levels were to rise about high enough and fast enough, many cities along coasts and on small islands will be flooded by ocean water and destroyed. These cities might include New York City, Boston, and other large US cities with millions of people. Earth's surface temperatures affects the weather in many complex ways. Computer models predict that weather in different parts of the world could be affected by continued warming in different ways. In some areas, it could become drier and more difficult to grow crops. This could lead to water and food shortages. In other areas, the growing season could lengthen because of warmer, wetter weather. Crops in these areas would become easier to grow. Changing weather caused by global warming might also mean more hurricanes, tornadoes, snowstorms, or droughts, depending on where a person lives. Warmer weather could mean more disease. Many kinds of viruses, bacteria, and other germs spread more easily when the weather is warm than when it is cool. Among such diseases are malaria, dengue, a disease that causes fever and pain, and lung infections. How global warming might affect you. You might have to conserve electricity, such as by watching less television and using the computer less often. You may have to deal with more tornadoes, hurricanes, heat waves, and other dangerous weather. You might experience water or food shortages. You might be at increased risk of getting certain diseases. You might find that wild animals you enjoy seeing, such as certain birds and butterflies, become less common. What is being done about climate change? Because of the serious effects that climate change might have on human society and wildlife habitats, governments around the world are working on this problem. They have come up with plans to limit the possible effects of global warming. Government of most countries support a plan to limit global warming called the Kyoto Protocol. This plan is named after the city in Japan, but the first version of it was written in 1997. According to the plan, industrialized countries will reduce the Wait a minute. Let me take a sip of water because now I'm so thirsty. Alright. According to the plan, industrialized countries will reduce the amount of carbon dioxide and other greenhouse gases released by power plants, automobiles, and other sources. Industrialized countries are those nations in which there is widespread use of machinery and fossil fuels. The greenhouse gas reductions have to be great enough to reach certain levels by certain dates, depending on the country. Here's a picture of an Indonesian student plants a tree as part of a climate conference campaign. As of 2010, the government of the United States had not approved the Kyoto Protocol. Some officials in the US government were concerned that the Kyoto Protocol might harm the US economy. Both the federal government and state governments in the United States are working to reduce emissions releases of greenhouse gases in other ways. For example, some laws require power plants and factories to reduce their carbon dioxide emissions, such as by using scrubbers. Scrubbers are filtering systems that trap carbon dioxide or other pollutants before they're released into the air. Certain newer systems can then store the carbon dioxide underground. Other laws require that automobiles emit less carbon dioxide. The US government also gives grants, awards of money to scientists to help them study renewable ways of producing energy. Most renewable energy sources do not use fossil fuels or emit greenhouse gases. They are called renewable because, unlike fossil fuels, the supplies will not eventually run out. Renewable energy sources include hydropower and geothermal, wind, and solar power. Hydropower uses moving water, such as a river, to produce energy. Geothermal power uses hot water or steam from inside the ground. Wind power uses moving air. Nuclear power uses sunlight. Nuclear power is another way to produce energy that does not emit greenhouse gases. However, nuclear power produces dangerous waste. Besides cutting emissions of greenhouse gases, we can also remove some greenhouse gases from the atmosphere. The best way is to do this is by planting more trees. Conclusion. What do you think? Now that you know what scientists have discovered about climate change and global warming, it's time for you to think for yourself. What do you think about climate change? How would you answer the following questions? What evidence can you give to support your answers? Is Earth becoming warmer? Yes, definitely. Because since the Industrial Revolution, more industries, more factories have been built, and since that, many other greenhouse gases are being released into the atmosphere, which makes the climate become much hotter. So definitely, Earth is becoming warmer at an alarming rate. If so, why is Earth becoming warmer? So as I have explained before, because of the major cause that responsible for the earth becoming warmer is human activities like the burning of fossil fuels, deforestation, or running vehicles that release a lot of harmful chemicals into the atmosphere that trap heat and makes the atmosphere become hotter and warmer. But another natural factors like natural events like volcanic eruptions um, can also be the culprit of climate change, but 95% scientists believe that human activity is responsible for climate change. Could there be more than one reason why the planet is warming? Yes, I've just explained to you that human activities and natural factors like natural events or weather, something like that. What might be some results of global warming for plants, animals, and humans? For plants, so many plants and animals will eventually in danger of extinction or die out because of their insufficient adaptation to the new environment. And for the humans, they will suffer from a lot of health problems like asthma, lung cancer, or another. I don't know about the food supplies as well will be affected. The most likely is that the plants would die out, and the least likely is the sixth mass extinction. What, if anything, should be done about climate change? Well, definitely, everyone should do this simple thing is plant more trees because during the photosynthesis, trees will absorb carbon dioxide, release back into the atmosphere the oxygen, which will help us solve this problem. We can also switch to renewable energy if it's possible to save to limit the source, limit the non-renewable energy like fossil fuels. Will you change your behavior in a way to reduce climate change? If so, in what ways? Yes, definitely. I will start by saving electricity because if you just wait The more electricity you waste, the more chances the burning of fossil fuels will be taken. So if you save electricity, you will also save the times of the fossil fuels being burned. How will you find out more about climate change? You can find out a lot on the internet, on YouTube, on social platforms, or just simply ask your friends and your teachers. So that's just some of the ways that you can do. And here are some suggestions that you can fight global warming: using less electricity, recycling, walking or riding your bicycle less, or using public transportations, or using solar power electronic products such as calculators and watches, or planting trees and gardens. Here are some new words you can also learn. And now let's do the quiz.
Good job.
I'll do the quiz. A total of 11 questions. All of the above, of course. Greenhouse gases.
You passed. Now,
Click on the items with the red
questions. I don't need to answer this because it's not required, so just complete it. Okay.
What? No way. You got a perfect score? I'm impressed.
That's it. Bye.